In 2018, for the first time in modern history, America became energy independent. We no longer needed OPEC, Russia, or any other hostile country to supply our fuels. In fact, for a brief moment, America actually became a net oil exporter. Prices at the pump dropped nearly 40%, and the U.S. began sending 8.8 million barrels of oil, gas, and other fuels around the world every single day. But then, the unthinkable happened. Politicians in Washington, they turned their backs on fossil fuel, the very energy that powered America to greatness. They canceled coal, killed the Keystone Pipeline, and in burst of brilliance, froze drilling permits for oil and gas. After choking off our domestic supply of fossil fuel, they went ahead and gambled $1 trillion in our entire future on clean energy. Gosh, that's more money than we spent on a border wall, America's infrastructure, and VA programs combined. A clean energy bet that, as you're about to see, is not only dirtier than fossil fuels, but is actually impossible to fill all our energy needs. Now, I want you to fully appreciate what's at stake here, folks. They've put the very future of America in grave danger. Our future, our children's future, and our children's children's future. Now, these just aren't my opinions. Those are warnings from scientists and experts across the nation, specialists who advise Congress that 2 decades of spending on a clean energy transition have led to escalating energy prices that help fuel the destructive effects of inflation. And that extreme shortages will result in billions of fatalities from disease, malnutrition, and weather-related deaths. Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, he pushed back at a congressional committee and said that the administration's clean energy plans would be the road to hell for America. But all their warnings, they've fallen on deaf ears. For whatever reason, fear of climate change, pandering to their voter base, or seeking favor for progressives, it doesn't matter. Washington continues to go full steam ahead with its green energy plans with blind obsession. And that, my fellow American, has put our country on a collision course with what I see, the mother of all energy crisis. Today, you'll see why it's a $1 trillion gamble that has sent us like a runaway stagecoach charging toward a cliff to what could become a massive, unavoidable, decades-long nightmare. Imagine paying $300 to fill up your gas tank, not having electricity to heat your home, watching your utility bill double and then triple, and that's just the start. I'll show you how bad life in America is going to get, and you'll see the simple financial move you must make before June 1st if you want a chance to protect your finances. It's the very move I'm making to protect my family from the economic shocks to come. Now, I believe it'll also keep your family's financial future secure in spite of the calamity. There's not a moment to waste. We've reached the point of no return. Progressive politicians have sent us down the road to hell, and as you're about to see, there's no turning back. They told us that clean energy would make our lives better, our futures brighter, and our nations more secure. They promised us a rose garden and gave us weeds instead. President Obama promised the transition to clean energy would create 5 million new jobs easily.
If we create a new energy economy, we can create 5 million new jobs easily here in the United States.
Where are all these jobs? They don't show up in the numbers. Bloomberg reports that he created barely a fraction of that. Nancy Pelosi said clean energy legislation would make our economy greener and cleaner.
Our legislation is far-reaching, ensuring that future economy is greener and cleaner.
But research from Harvard shows that solar panels will create 78 million tons of hazardous waste in just 30 years. And large wind farms, well, they actually increase global warming rather than helping to reduce it. Bottom line, folks, clean energy, it isn't so clean. In fact, it's damn right dirty. But wait, there's more. The clean energy promises don't stop there. President Biden promised us clean energy will power America to fresher air, bluer skies, and a more promising future.
I will do everything in my power to clean our air and water, protect our people's health, to win the clean energy future.
Sure the heck didn't turn out that way. Washington's own research shows that after 15 years of effort and billions of dollars in expenses, clean energy provides just 12% of America's energy needs. In other words, it's barely moved the needle. But that's not the half of it. progressive politicians pushed the pedal to the metal and doubled down on their clean energy bet, raising their wages from $500 billion to $1 trillion. And then they did the unthinkable. They declared outright war on fossil fuels by killing off pipelines, canceling coal mines, and freezing new drilling permits for oil and gas companies. They doubled their investment, putting a full $1 trillion on the line, and at the same time, crushed our supply. And in doing so, they've set the stage for an energy crisis that will make the 1970s feel like a walk in the park. Imagine paying 3 to 4 times more for daily necessities like milk, toilet paper, a pair of jeans because of soaring freight costs. Think of what will unfold when millions of middle-class Americans take pay cuts due to mandatory power outages at factories and businesses to conserve energy. Imagine being unable to call for help if your spouse is having a heart attack or your home is being broken into. Why? Because those same outages have shut down cell phone towers and communication centers. The way we work, eat, sleep, stay warm, keep cool, care for ourselves and our family, all of it will be blindsided. And that's just the start, because our entire economy will be brought to its knees. Stores, factories, and data centers across America forced to shut down because of random rolling blackouts. And our military, boy, they're going to be crippled. Air Force jets grounded, tanks at a standstill, troop transports useless, cruisers and destroyers trapped in port because of a lack of fuel and electricity. It'll be the mother of all energy crises, unlike any we've experienced before. Now, you remember the Arab boycott in the early 1970s? Gas rationing, odd and even days? Well, I do. I remember sitting in our Olds 98 with my mom, spending hours waiting in lines that were a mile long just to fill up half a tank. Or seeing fights break out when tensions ran high because people were waiting online for hours. And that was just from a shortage of gasoline. Now think of what will happen from a shortage of all forms of energy. In today's modern world, everything in our lives, our jobs, our security, our freedom, they all rely on energy. Every single thing. Do you think a crisis like this sounds far-fetched? If so, let me give you a reality check. We're already seeing it play out in Europe. In 2000, Germany signed into law its Renewable Energy Sources Act, legislation that went all in on renewable energy and set in motion plans to shut down all fossil fuel power plants. Wind and solar farms began springing up all over Germany and along the North Sea. It became the poster child for clean energy in Europe. Other EU nations, well, they eagerly jumped on the bandwagon. Everyone from Sweden and Poland to Romania and the UK, they began to embrace clean energy and declared war on fossil fuels. No smooth, gradual transition, no well-thought-out backup plans. Instead, they quickly enacted bold new laws to phase out fossil fuels. They banned fracking, and they began to shut down coal-fueled power plants one after the other. By 2021, half of Europe's coal plants have been closed or slated for retirement. Politicians in the EU gambled their nation's futures on the blind pursuit of clean energy, even though clean energy only met about 20% of Europe's electricity needs. The EU, in their enthusiasm for clean energy, put the cart before the horse, and now they're paying the price. This past winter, Russia shut off the flow of natural gas to Europe for only a few weeks and sent the whole continent into a tizzy. Germans hoarded firewood. People in Poland burnt garbage to keep warm. Electricity bills in the UK, well, they soared. German industries were savaged by skyrocketing energy costs, and the entire continent braced itself for a winter of power outages and rolling blackouts. And boy, were they lucky that Europe had a very mild winter. If a normal winter hit, forget about it. Why the chaos? Because clean energy alone simply cannot provide enough electricity. It's literally impossible. You'll see why in just a moment. And without enough traditional power plants to carry the load or their own sources of fossil fuel to run them, Europe set themselves up for a disaster. They've not only jeopardized the health, safety, and financial future of their citizens, they've given Russia the power to shut down their economies, cripple their armies, and bring life to a standstill with just the flip of a switch. All Russia has to do is permanently turn off the flow of natural gas through the Nord Stream pipeline, and Europe would plunge back into the dark ages. I hope their predicament has got your attention, because similar signs of disaster have begun to surface right here in America too. In 2020, California had to enforce 4 days of mandatory rolling blackouts during one of the hottest heat waves on record, the first non-wildfire blackouts they've seen in nearly 20 years. Then, just this past summer, the state declared a grid emergency yet again. Now, years ago, electricity suppliers in the Midwest created a last-ditch plan called a Max Gen event. When there's not enough electricity available to meet demand, they call on every available backup generator and hope it'll be enough. Now, Max Gen events, well, they rarely occurred before 2016. But since then, there have been 40 of them. It's more than alarming. It's downright frightening. And look what happened in Texas. Stories of people struggling without power for days during the 2021 Texas freeze were all over the news. But what most people don't know is that Texas was a breath away from an even bigger catastrophe. In a little notice interview with the Texas Tribune, officials who operate the power grid divulged the true story. They revealed that the state's power grid was just seconds and minutes away from a catastrophic failure, a failure that could have left Texans in the dark for months. Where was all the abundant clean energy then? Just like Europe, U.S. politicians have turned their backs on fossil fuels before there is anywhere near enough clean energy to take their place. Just like in Europe, the knee-jerk transition to clean energy has weakened the U.S. power grid to the edge of collapse. And just like in Europe, the price of electricity has started to climb all across the country. But hear me out. This is just a small preview of the nightmare we're about to face. Now, you won't hear anyone in Washington talking about the signs of the coming disaster, but they're there for anyone to see. A massive energy crisis isn't just coming to America, it's already here knocking on our door. A team from the Wall Street Journal ran an expose titled America's New Energy Crisis and concluded that fossil fuel plants are closing faster than green alternatives can replace them. In the very first line they state, America is wrestling with the worst energy crisis in nearly 5 decades. They get it. They understand what's happening. It's right there in the very first line. And yet our elected politicians are still dead set on a rapid transition to clean energy. President Biden said he's proud to have taken bold action to build clean energy at home and that our historic progress to confront climate change continues. The United States Department of Energy stated we need to do all we can to achieve President Biden's goal of net zero emissions by 2050. And VP Kamala Harris shared her 2 cents. We will cut our greenhouse gas emissions in half by no later than 2030, and by no later than 2050, we will reach net zero emissions. The damage from their blind, obsessive rush to clean energy is growing by the day, and it's only going to get much worse, much worse. A former member of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission even admitted the crisis now is much worse than it was in the 1970s. Everyone is looking around and no one seems to know what to do. Fortunately, there is a ray of hope, an opportunity to protect your family, sidestep the coming crisis, and even grow your money in spite of it. But you must move on it before June 1st. I'll show you why in just a moment, but first, you should know who I am and why I felt it my duty to bring this message to you. My name is Charles Mizrahi. I'm one of the key leaders at the financial research firm Banyan Hill. I, along with my colleagues, study the financial markets closely, technology, healthcare, consumer staples, and the like, along with energy. Now, using our research, we show people how to make simple investments in these markets so they can build the financial future they deserve. Odds are, you've seen me on the major networks sharing my insights. You may have seen me teaming up with former Governor Mike Huckabee, or perhaps Vice Presidential candidate Sarah Palin, or maybe even political commentator Bill O'Reilly. That's because I've had a pretty good track record of success over the past 40 years. Take 1987, for example. The stock market was soaring high, but I saw signs that trouble was coming. I got my clients out of stocks and into the safety of money markets 2 weeks before the infamous Black Monday crash, which saw the Dow Jones lose 22% in one day. And even the New York Times wrote about it. Then, in December of 1999, I warned my clients, we are seeing the worst technical readings the market has seen in over a decade. There continues to be an intense speculation that reminds us of the late 1920s. 4 months later, the dot-com bubble burst and stocks plunged. In 2005, I warned of the housing bubble, stating, All the arguments that we heard close to 20 years ago about the eternal housing bull market are playing out again. And that my advice was to watch from the sidelines where you couldn't get hurt. Sure enough, the housing bubble popped and triggered the 2008 financial crisis. And one more quick example. December 2021. Everyone was raving about all the profits they made in tech stocks. I published a statement warning that our current market was crazier than the dot-com bubble. I told everyone to sell speculative tech stocks. 1 month later, tech stocks cratered and the bear market was unleashed. Each of those warnings, 87, 99, 05, and 2021 proved true. And in each case, those who listened to me were able to protect both their family and their future. You can likely imagine why those at top firms such as Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, and Merrill Lynch pay for our insights. However, with all that I said, the warning I want to share with you today is by far my most serious warning yet. We are on the verge of the biggest energy crisis in American history, a crisis that puts our economy, our military, our financial freedoms, and our way of life in grave danger. I know it still sounds hard to believe that a nightmare like this could sweep across America. After all, everywhere you look, Washington is doing its best to tell you that there's no energy crisis. President Biden has even told you that the surge in prices is temporary, just a brief spike caused by the Ukrainian war and profiteering by oil companies. And he's even pointed out that prices at the pump have already started to drop. Of course they've come down from their peak. That's because the Biden administration tapped into 4 decades worth of strategic petroleum reserves. In just a few months, the Biden administration drained our strategic petroleum reserves to its lowest level in nearly 40 years. Keep in mind, these reserves were meant for a national emergency, like a terrorist attack or 9/11, or a major crisis, like in 1973 when OPEC placed a total oil embargo on the U.S. But President Biden, he tapped into the reserves a month before midterm elections to bring down prices at the pump and help ensure Democrats held their seats in the Senate. And you know what? It worked. But as a result, there were only about 20 days worth of oil left in reserve. Think about that. Thanks to the short-sighted political maneuver, the very safety cushion meant to get us through an energy crisis has already been depleted to its lowest level in decades, and it's only a short-term fix. The instant our reserves get shut off, you can bet your bottom dollar the price of gas will start to soar again. Our president also told us in July of 2021 that inflation was temporary. Remember that?
We've seen some price increases. Some folks have raised worries that this could be a sign of persistent inflation. But that's not our view. Our experts believe, and the data shows, that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary.
He said that it has to do with coronavirus and lingering supply chain issues, not a shortage of energy.
I also want to briefly address one myth about inflated gas prices. They're not due to environmental measures. My effort to combat climate change is not raising the price of gas.
But you don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize that higher prices at the pump mean higher costs to manufacture and transport goods. And we're not just talking about packages ordered from Amazon or meals delivered by Uber Eats. Every item we buy, every service we use depends on energy. When the price of energy goes up, it sets off a chain reaction. The cost to fuel tractors and to fertilize our crops, the cost to run the paper mill, the cost to run garbage trucks, the utility bills for the hospital, everything goes up. The more it costs to make, service, or ship an item means the more you'll have to pay to buy it. Everything from bread and toilet paper to your garbage collection and healthcare will soar in price. Look at what happened in the 1970s crisis. Oil shot up 360%. Gas shot up 460%. Ground beef soared 120%. Even the price of a candy bar doubled. And that was just from an oil crisis. This time, we're on the verge of an all-out energy crisis. The pain will extend far beyond the gas pump. You've seen what the mere threat of mass power outages has done in Europe. We've already seen them start to happen in California and Texas, and you've seen how the entire Midwest is on the verge of frequent rolling blackouts. Now, imagine what mass power outages and mandatory blackouts all across America would do. Even if people somehow manage to keep their cool, the cost we suffer will be staggering. Those 4 days of rolling blackouts in California just a few years ago are estimated to have cost businesses nearly $10 billion. And the Texas freeze in 2021, that power outage caused the Lone Star State a whopping $130 billion. Now, multiply that across the whole U.S. for several days, weeks, month after month, for up to 10 years. Business profits will plunge. Factories will regularly get shut down. Stores will be forced to slash their hours. And paychecks all across the nation, well, they're going to be slashed to the bone. While prices for our daily expenses soar to the moon, it will literally cripple our economy, all because of Washington's hasty $1 trillion bet on clean energy, coupled with their war on fossil fuels. And it's more than just households and businesses that will suffer from a lack of electricity and fuel. Jet fighters, Humvees, tanks, helicopters, drones, cruisers, and destroyers, they'll rely on fossil fuel. And on military bases, command centers, and communications, well, they'll rely on electricity. No fuel plus no electricity equals a crippled military. That's right. Washington's big, all-in bet on clean energy has put our national security at risk, right when the military threat from China is the highest it's been in decades, and they're sending spy balloons over military installations in our heartland. And what is their answer to this increased security risk? To double down.
This bill is the biggest step forward on climate ever. And it's going to allow us to boldly take additional steps toward meeting all of my climate goals and the ones we set out when we ran. I'm going to start the process where every vehicle in the United States military, every vehicle is going to be climate friendly. Every vehicle. We're going to have no, I mean it. We're spending billions of dollars to do it.
You've heard President Biden. We're spending trillions of your tax dollars to do it. Folks, on what planet does this make sense? For decades, America was trapped under the thumb of OPEC. Then in 2018, thanks to the breakthrough of fracking, we finally gained energy independence. For the first time in 75 years, the U.S. was once again a net oil exporter rather than a net oil importer. But then, in its obsession with a rapid transition to clean energy, Washington clamped down on oil drilling, refining, and pipelines. And in just 2 years' time, 2 years, it turned America back into a net importer of crude oil again. The sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow, and neither of them is available 24/7 everywhere in the U.S. You see, there is only one way that clean energy could ever work as an around-the-clock power source that powers a nation: with batteries. Vox calls energy storage the missing puzzle piece for getting 100% clean energy. Time said batteries will solve the problem by allowing utility companies to store electricity for times when the sun may not shine or the wind doesn't blow. And the International Renewable Energy Agency declared battery storage paves the way for a renewable-powered future. Powering America with 100% clean energy will require a huge amount of supersized batteries. Electric vehicles, well, they can't run without batteries. And power companies can't store renewable electricity without big utility-scale batteries. Cities, industries, and the military won't have constant, reliable sources of power without thousands upon thousands of batteries. We'll need zillions of batteries everywhere, from trains, ships, and planes to massive battery farms that are more than 3 football fields in size, all across America. And folks, that's a huge problem, because we have to import the rare earth minerals needed to make all these batteries. And take a guess where we need to get them from. China. Yep, China. China sits on top of 40% of the world's copper, 59% of lithium, 68% of nickel, and 73% of cobalt, all of which are needed to process batteries. And that barely scratches the surface. Research from the Manhattan Institute shows that the U.S. is 100% dependent on imports for 17 critical minerals needed to make clean energy work. It would be a national security nightmare. And for what? After decades of being at OPEC's mercy, we were finally energy independent. We had all the energy we needed. We were the #1 source for oil in the entire free world. But Washington, they threw it all away for a silly, failed all-in bet on clean energy. Now, to add insult to injury, Washington's clean energy plans would make China the new OPEC. Every home, business, power plant, our Air Force, Army, Navy, all of America would be dependent upon China to provide the rare earth materials we need for the batteries. It's no wonder experts are sounding the alarm. And here's the real kick in the pants. 100% clean energy future, it's only a dream. That's because it's literally impossible to make enough batteries. There aren't enough mines in the world to provide enough materials. Research from Prager University shows that global mining would need to increase as much as 2,000% to meet battery demands. You can't stick a pipe in the ground for oil without environmental regulations shutting the operation down. So do you really think the U.S. is going to approve a 20-fold increase in mining operations to make all these batteries? You got to be kidding me. As for third world nations, it's bad enough they're resorting to child labor to meet the current need for batteries. There is just no way they'll ever have the resource or even enough minerals to make Washington's clean energy goals a reality. And even if we could mine enough minerals for all those batteries, it would take forever to make them. Case in point, Tesla built the world's largest battery factory in Nevada. And as impressive as that is, it would still take the factory 500 years to make enough batteries to store just 1 day's worth of America's electricity use. Imagine how long it would take to make enough to power America for a week or a month. It's downright impossible. Now, that's not speculation or my opinion. It's physics. Washington's clean energy goals are a pipe dream, a massive PR stunt to win votes. They bet big on clean energy, $1 trillion big, and it backfired. Now, America, you and I, are about to pay the consequences for it. We're about to face the worst energy crisis in our nation's history. And this is what really grinds my gears. Although they'll never admit it, they know it. They know their $1 trillion clean energy gamble is backfiring. Why the heck else would President Biden go to Saudi Arabia hat in hand to beg them for more oil? Why do you think there's suddenly talk of a huge new drilling project in Alaska? And why do you think the Biden administration quietly approved plans to build a new oil terminal, the nation's largest, in the Gulf of Mexico? But they can't openly admit they're wrong. It would send their voter base into a tizzy, and they'll all be looking for new jobs come the day after the next election. They can't just hand China the keys to America in exchange for a clean energy future, because that would be national suicide. And they can't fulfill their promise and win their $1 trillion gamble to make America run on 100% clean energy by 2050 because it's physically impossible. That leaves them and us with just one choice. Washington's only option is to quietly embrace the very things they've shunned, the very things that made us the strongest, richest country in the world, fossil fuels. So, they'll continue to preach their clean energy rhetoric, and they'll continue to throw money at their impossible gamble, even though it's already backfired. But behind the scenes, they'll be frantic to get their hands on as much fossil fuel as they can. There's no other choice. And it's already starting to happen. You've just seen it. The talk of new drilling in Alaska, overturning a fracking ban in California, greenlighting new oil pipeline work. All the signs are there if you know where to look. But there's a major problem. You can't just turn on new fracking sites, pipelines, or oil refineries with the flip of a switch. It can take up to a decade to get approval and bring new oil fields, pipelines, and refineries online. Washington doesn't have 10 years to wait. It doesn't even have 6 months to wait. Our oil reserves are running out quick. The next massive spike in energy demand is set to occur around June 1st. That's when summer will begin, and the next wave of record-breaking heat waves will send energy consumption through the roof, overwhelm power supplies, and set the stage for large-scale rolling blackouts. And the quick, desperate need for energy will put one specific fossil fuel at the top of their list: natural gas. It's the cleanest fossil fuel on the planet. Data from the International Energy Agency shows that since 2010, switching coal power plants over to natural gas has kept 500 million tons of CO2 from being released, the equivalent of putting 200 million electric vehicles on the road. and North America is swimming in it. At last count, the Energy Information Administration reported the U.S. alone has enough natural gas beneath its feet to last 100 years. Add in our neighbors to the North Canada, and you're looking at an absolute treasure trove of available natural gas. Just what the West will need to get us through this unavoidable energy crisis. What's more, those are just the current recoverable reserves. Continued improvements in drilling and fracking technology have allowed us to reach more and more new areas of gas each year. In fact, America is so rich in natural gas, countries like Germany, France, Spain, the UK, Poland, Japan, and even China are begging us to liquefy more of it for transport so they can buy more shipments from us. And here at home, about 38% of U.S. power plants, they use natural gas to generate electricity. As the energy crisis erupts in full force, you can bet your bottom dollar they're going to use more of it, a lot more of it. The Hill reported, liquefied natural gas is the answer to Biden's energy crisis. Forbes stated, natural gas will rule America's electricity future. NPR reported, the U.S. wants to slash carbon emissions from power plants. Natural gas is the way. And a Forbes contributor predicted, natural gas will continue to be America's top electricity producer and should exceed 50% of our power generation by mid-century. Real talk, folks. Natural gas is going to take center stage in America's future. It's the only realistic way for the United States to get cleaner, economically stronger, and we're going to produce a lot more natural gas. And I have my eye on a company that's set to grow by leaps and bounds as we do. You see, while I have a long history of helping avoid crises before they happen, such as the crash of '87, 2000, 2008, and 2021, I also know how to make a profit from it. In 1987, I was named the top market timer and made average annual gains of 100% or more year after year. In 2008, I assembled an inevitable portfolio of stocks. All told, anyone who invested $10,000 into it is now sitting on $53,400. And in 2021, I guided readers through the tech market crash, and I'm doing the exact same thing right now. The natural gas company I've identified is in a perfect position to help us throughout the crisis and grow its operations. It's one of the top 5 natural gas producers in all North America. The CEO got his start with Shell and has been in the industry for more than 40 years. Its free cash flow has been climbing through the roof. That means it has plenty of money to both grow its operations and to reward investors through share buybacks and dividends. They have by far the largest future inventory of natural gas in North America. They also have over 75 years worth of current drilling inventory, more than enough to help get us through a long-lasting crisis. And get this, they have the best greenhouse gas emission score out of any of its peers by a country mile. To top it all off, this company signed a deal to supply gas to the largest natural gas producer in the U.S. for the next 15 years. Talk about checking all the boxes. During the last big crisis we faced, the pandemic, shares of this company shot up as high as 1,400% from 2020 to 2022. And that was a pandemic. Just imagine how high it could go during an all-out energy crisis. When I saw the potential of this stock, when I saw how much free cash flow this company was generating, I put my 40 years of experience and connections to use to really drill down into the details. And what I found was incredible. This company checks off one box after another. In fact, the CEO himself has purchased $1.3 million worth of shares in just 3 months. And they weren't stock options awarded to him or as part of his salary or bonus. He bought them himself with his own money. Now, you know big things are about to happen when the CEO of a company puts that much money on the line. So if he's investing $1.3 million in his own stock, don't you think you should invest too? That's why I'm investing in this stock. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about going all in. I don't have to go all in. If this stock goes up 1,400% again, I only need to invest a little to make a small fortune. I think you should take a look at it too. I expect this company to deliver tremendous gains, more than enough to help cushion your family from sky-high utility bills and a shrinking paycheck. It's my #1 stock recommendation for getting through the energy crisis. In fact, if you invest in it now before the next big spike in demand hits, it could even help keep your financial goals and dreams on track, even if the crisis lasts decades. That's why I want to give you access to my latest investor report. It covers this opportunity in exacting detail. The report is called Energy Fortunes. It's valued at $199, but I'd like to send it to you for free. I'll tell you how to get it in just a moment. You can have it in your hands right away so that you can purchase this natural gas stock in your 401k, IRA, or just in a regular brokerage account. However, I don't want to stop there. There's also another opportunity I want to share with you, an oil investment. You see, while everyone is raving about electric vehicles, they still represent less than 1% of cars in the U.S. That means 99% of Americans still need to fill their cars and trucks with gas. Gas also fuels the 45,000 flights spanning our skies, and the countless container ships transporting goods to stock Amazon warehouses and Walmart shelves. That means we'll need a lot more oil, a lot more. And that's where my number 2 energy crisis recommendation is going to shine. You see, it's a company that has oil and gas operations in not just 1 or 2, but 5 of America's richest shale formations. It's been named the world's fastest growing oil and gas brand. It has delivered stronger and stronger results across all of its top U.S. resource basins. Its free cash flow is at an all-time high. And a few months ago, it signed a deal that doubled its presence in the massive Eagle Ford shale field. This company is in an ideal position. I can only expect that the worse the energy crisis gets, the quicker it'll continue to grow. And as icing on the cake, it pays shareholders a 9% dividend. That's huge! 5 times bigger than most other companies. It's money in the bank every 3 months that can be used as an extra cushion against rising utility bills and gas prices. Plus, just like my number 1 stock recommendation, during the last crisis America faced, shares of this oil driller soared. It shot up as high as 1,530% in just over 2 years. And while there are no guarantees when it comes to investing, all my research leads me to believe that it could happen again. That's because Washington, while it can't admit it to the public, is in desperate need for more oil. Its failed clean energy gamble has ripped open a huge hole in our energy supply. And you've just seen how badly they need to fill it. President Biden went to Saudi Arabia practically begging for oil, and all he got was a fist bump from a Saudi prince. Now, the only safe, reliable place to get more oil is right here in the United States of America. And this company is ready to help provide it. You'll find all the details in my second new report, Oil 2.0. It's also valued at $199, and you'll see how to get it for free in just a moment. I believe that owning these 2 stocks will protect your wealth, provide a steady income stream, and put you in a position to reap massive gains in the years ahead. And I have one more very important investment recommendation for you as the clean energy crisis unfolds. Energy is only as plentiful as your ability to get it to where it's needed. And that's what makes my 3rd stock recommendation an absolute must-have for your portfolio. This company is one of the most well-positioned pipeline operators in the country. It is one of the largest and most diversified networks with pipelines servicing all of America's major oil and gas producing shale basins. They move crude oil, raw natural gas, refined oil, and refined natural gas from fields to transport hubs and refineries. And they even supply water to fracking sites, which the oil drillers need to pump into the ground to force oil out. Pipelines are the arteries and veins of America. Without them, no energy. And at the end of the day, it's next to impossible for anyone else to replicate this company's footprint. And its network is growing larger by the moment. In fact, Washington had quietly given them approval to put another new pipeline in service. It will move natural gas from the Haynesville Shale Basin to terminals and refineries along the Gulf Coast. Plus, they recently signed a huge deal to lock in 20 years of liquefied natural gas sales. This company also pays a big dividend of close to 9%. To top it off, in the past few months, management and company insiders have bought a lot of shares, and they have a lot of their money on the line. That's another huge sign of what they expect the future to bring. And of course, like the previous 2 companies, its shares shot up during COVID, enough to triple your money in less than 3 years. But again, that was during a pandemic. Take a look at what happened to it during the 2008 financial crisis. In 7 years, its shares soared over 1,400%. I've put all my insights on this company into a third new report called Pipeline Profits. This unmatched pipeline company is an ideal addition to the other two opportunities we've just talked about. After all, the stock market can be unpredictable, and there's no way of knowing with absolute certainty which of these stocks is most likely to climb, or if any of them will. There is always risk involved in investing, and you should never invest more than you can stand to lose. But by investing in all three, you maximize your chances to protect and grow your money. In past crises, shares of these three energy companies have soared, and those were pandemics and financial crises. What do you think will happen to them in this crisis, an actual all-out energy crisis? I think they'll go up even higher. And while you wait, you'll collect as much as 9% in passive income. But now you see why these are my top three stocks for the catastrophe that Washington's clean energy gamble is about to unleash on us. So it's time for the big question. How can you get free access to all three of these reports right now? Well, as I mentioned earlier, I'm the Chief Investment Director for Banyan Hill Publishing. My goal is to make stock investing simple and success, well, inevitable, no matter what the markets, the economy, or Washington throw our way. That's why I created my flagship research service, Alpha Investor. With a few simple clicks on your laptop or a tap on our smartphone app, you'll have all my research and recommendations right at your fingertips. Over 100,000 people in more than 120 countries have already joined Alpha Investor. Even former governors, CEOs, best-selling authors, and Navy SEALs receive my insights. And folks from all over the world have written to say how it has helped them protect and grow their money. People like John, who emailed me to say, I started using Alpha Invest in April right after the COVID crash. In about 14 months, my $300,000 IRA is now almost doubled at $547,000. Thank you. John, thank you for writing in. Robert, a reader from Iowa, sent this email. I just want to tell you thank you for all you do. I now feel confident investing because of your insights. Thanks for helping the little guys. You're more than welcome. And Barbara said, I'm a teeny investor with very little money, but your insights are keeping me above water, even in these turbulent times. I wish I had found you sooner, Charles. Well, you found me now, Barbara. John, Robin, and Barbara are paying subscribers of Alpha Investor, and their emails are just a few out of many that I've chosen to highlight. With my help, they have put their financial goals well on track despite the COVID crisis or last year's bear market. Of course, everyone's results will be unique. Your success will depend on how closely you follow my insights, how much you decide to invest, when you follow my recommendations, and any unforeseen market events that may occur. It all starts with the stock opportunities covered in my three new special investor reports. Together, they give you details on my top three stock recommendations for surviving and thriving in America's new energy crisis. The moment you join me as a part of Alpha Investor, you'll get immediate access to all three special reports, a total value of $597, yours free. You could be on your way to protecting and growing your money starting today. Then, every month, you'll get my insights and concise details on a new stock recommendation, including why I expect it to move higher. You'll also get my weekly updates, access to every special report I publish, and the short e-letter that the Banyan Hill team and I send out each week. You'll even have the support of my dedicated customer care team, who you can call anytime you have a question about your subscription. And again, you'll also get all three free bonus reports, a $597 value, yours to keep free just for test driving Alpha Investor. Plus, you get it all at a very special discount. Normally, Alpha Investor is valued at $199 a year. But I expect this to be the worst energy crisis America has ever faced. Washington's $1 trillion gamble on clean energy not only backfired, it has also put America on an unavoidable path to disaster. Those who do nothing will watch their financial goals and dreams get vaporized as utility bills skyrocket, paychecks get slashed, and energy, well, it becomes more precious than gold. But it's not too late to protect yourself if you act now, before the next big overwhelming surge in demand kicks America's energy grid into crisis mode. You have the chance to do much more than protect your family and sidestep the crisis. You'll also have the opportunity to grow your money in spite of it. That's why I don't want anything to hold you back from joining me today. So, I've cut the price to join Alpha Investor by more than half, with a special discount for everyone watching this presentation today. You can try one full year of Alpha Investor for just $47. Folks, that's a savings of more than 75% off the regular price. I'm also giving you my 100% satisfaction guarantee. That way, you literally have nothing to lose. Here's what I mean. I want you to take the next 12 months to review everything I'm giving you access to. My monthly stock insights and recommendations, model portfolio, updates, e-letter, and your free 3 bonus reports. Now log in on your laptop or open the app, browse through my monthly briefings, skim my weekly updates, look at my model portfolio, try my research and recommendations for an entire year. If you don't want to continue with Alpha Investor for any reason, just give us a call, and my team will refund every single penny of your subscription. No hard feelings. Plus all those special reports, they're yours to keep free. Consider it my gift. This way, you've got nothing to lose. So sign up today and let's get started. I guarantee you'll love being a part of the Alpha Investor community. And if you're new to investing, there's no need to worry. All you have to do is review the details of the stock recommendation I send you each month and decide if you want to invest. That's it. That's all it takes. To give you an extra head start, though, I'll send you 2 more free bonuses. You'll also get Alpha Investor Made Easy, 5 minutes to successful investing. With this quick start guide in hand, you'll be off and running in no time. In just 5 minutes, you'll see everything you need to invest like a pro and get the most out of your Alpha Investor membership. That's right, just 5 minutes. Remember, folks, my goal is to make stock investing simple for you and success, well, inevitable. It's a $99 value, yours free. Plus, I'll also send you how to build a $1 million retirement. If you think a major planet-wide energy crisis means your dreams of $1 million retirement are gone forever, guess again. Many of the world's most legendary investors made their fortunes during unthinkable crisis. Sir John Templeton became famous and rich by investing amid the outbreak of World War II. While most people were running for cover, he was buying stocks. In the 1970s, amid the oil shocks and stagflation, Warren Buffett turned Berkshire Hathaway into a money machine, and by 1982, he had a net worth of $376 million. John Paulson achieved fame and a $2.5 billion fortune in the depths of the 2008 financial crisis. All great investors know that crisis not only spell danger, they also bring great opportunity. Which side of the fence you end up on, well, it's up to you. In this special added bonus report, you'll see the #1 way to build a $1 million retirement no matter what is going on in the stock market or the world. It's another $99 value, yours free when you join me. So, that's a total, folks, of 5 free special reports, a $795 value, yours free when you try Alpha Investor. I've done all I can. Now, it's up to you. See, the way I see it, you really have 2 choices. 1, you can sit still, do nothing, and watch your hard-earned money vanish as this massive clean energy crisis unfolds. Or, number 2, you could sign up for Alpha Investor and put yourself back on the path to prosperity. It's simple. I do all the heavy lifting so that you don't have to. Every stock recommendation I give you is backed by months of research. I keep tabs on economic events as they unfold. I read through annual reports, financial statements, government filings. I reach out to my contacts who include some of the nation's top fund managers and CEOs. And I tie all the pieces together to identify the best stock opportunities the market has to offer in any type of environment. Bottom line, folks, I do all the hard work for you. Bull market or bear market, tech boom or bust, energy crisis or energy abundance, it doesn't matter. There are always opportunities to grow your money. And with Alpha Investor, you'll know right where to find them. That's the reason I started Alpha Investor. I want to help make investing simple for you and successful, inevitable. Now, getting started is easy. All you need to do is click the orange button beneath this video. You'll see how to get access to my most recent current research and recommendations within moments. Now, make no mistake, this energy crisis is going to reshape America. And whether you come out ahead or get left behind will depend on your decision today. I urge you, don't delay. Give Alpha Investor a try today. To get started, simply click on the orange button below. It will take you to a secure page where you can review all the details. So let's get started. Thank you for watching, and may God bless the United States of America.